Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Ben 10 Retrospectives, and today we're going to be talking about episode 9 of the original Ben 10 series, Last Laugh. And in this episode we wind up seeing Ben's, first extreme phobia. In this case it's clowns, and I think this is a good way to help show it. And so pretty much in this episode, after Ben foils a robbery, which really doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the episode, he and his family are just driving around the town that it was in, and while they're driving around, they see advertisements for a traveling circus called Zombozo's Traveling Circus, which really I think hearing the name Zombozo would probably raise a few red flags for some people, but I don't know, maybe it's funny there. But upon seeing them, Gwen and Max want to go to the circus, while Ben just seems apprehensive about it. But they do go anyway, and while they're there, they see it pretty much looks like a circus. It pretty much looks like a circus. It's got all these tents, a ringleader, and it actually has various freak show. Actually has a freak show, which stars at least 3 freaks. But Ben, throughout all this, just seems kind of weirded out by everything that involved. He just seems freaked out by everything, and he actually winds up seeing Zombozo, and he just freaks out. Well, backstage, when he's backstage, Ben wanders off and sees him, but Ben gets freaked out when he sees, because he's acting creepy backstage. But he and his family go to the show anyway. But during the show, Ben excuses himself because of his fear. And while he's out, while he's out, he sees the circuit. He sees the freaks that from before while everyone's being distracted by Zombozo's show, the freaks are robbing everyone of their possessions and so forth. So Ben tries to stop them, but in doing so, the freaks call in Zombozo, stopping his show altogether. And when Zombozo shows up, Ben stops fighting and just kind of freezes up. So the freaks easily subdue him and run back to the show. Thankfully Ben's okay, and he goes back to where the circus was, but finds that pretty much Zombozo, his freaks, and pretty much the entirety of the circus are gone. And all that's left are the people that watch the show, and they all just seem dazed and glum. He winds up asking Matt, and though they all seem rather weak or dull, and Ben manages to find his grandfather, who is still lightly chuckling despite the fact that he says he's glum, and he finds out that Gwen has been captured, that was taken by Zombozo as well as several other people. So Ben and Max go off to get Gwen, but while they're driving, Max winds up losing consciousness and almost crashes the RV. Ben manages to stop it, and it turns out that Zombozo does more than just have his freaks take stuff while he's performing. He actually sucks the life out of people through their happiness to the point where they're just weak and dry husks. So this just makes Ben even more determined to find Gwen. He winds up finding the circus, and after he takes care of the freaks, he goes to fight Zombozo himself, and after Zombozo winds up subjecting him to a very trippy and actually pretty creepy sequence, Ben winds up confronting Zombozo. Ben can't look him in the eye. Zombozo tells him about how his plan is that he sucks the life out of people and make himself stronger, which kind of makes sense. And he wants to and he's planning on taking this show to the big city, get himself better. And but through all this, Ben demands to see his cousin again, and Zombozo shows him Gwen, but she's kind of in a worse state than Max was. She looks like she's just all skin and bones, and that jostles Ben out of his little funk. And so Ben goes Ghost Freak, defeats Zombozo, destroys the machine he was using to suck the life out of people, which restores everyone, and they get Gwen back, and everything's back to normal. So honestly, I think what makes the episode work, is not really the moral, because I think this is kind of a moral that many shows have done. Just, you have to face your fears, and honestly, clowns are kind of a big thing for many people, myself included. When I was a kid, I was really freaked out by clowns. Well, except Ronald McDonald, but that's something else. But and I think they kind of help emphasize that well enough with Zombozo. But I think what makes this work is just the imagery and Zombozo himself. What I think, because I think what made, like, because as I was watching this episode now, I have not looked it up yet, and I plan to, but I swear to God that this was their Halloween episode. I think this is the episode they aired around Halloween, because it has all of the trademarks of it. It's got, like, in my vlog for the Kraken episode, I mentioned how I didn't like how it was just dreary and dull, how the scenery was all dreary and dull for every scene, for everything. No, that's a similar case here. Like in the very beginning of the episode, Ben wants to make the excuse that it's late, they should probably go into bed, and from looking outside their window, from looking outside the RV, you probably think it is late, but Max says it's 11, so I'm just kind of thinking, how dark is it? Why is it dark at 11 o'clock in the morning? But I think that kind of helps add to. But I think actually the dark atmosphere, while mentally that doesn't really work, actually helps add to it, because the episode actually can be creepy. Like Zombozo himself, like we're not really given an explanation for why he wants to suck people's life out of him beyond "I want to get stronger." And I think the closest explanation I have for this is actually a fanfic I once read, where apparently Zombozo was apparently laughed at as a kid, so now he's grown up bitter, and so now that he's making people laugh for a living, he's just using that to get revenge or whatever, which I think is a very creative backstory, but that's not the one they go with. But I don't think they ever state Zombozo's backstory, but honestly, I don't really think you need to, because he is legitimately creepy. He has a low voice, this big creepy smile. He has a way of saying things, he has a way of doing things. He feels intimidating and actually pretty disturbing by himself. And the circus freaks, I kind of like the circus. It also kind of goes for circus freaks. Like they have similar outfits, but each of the circus freaks has their own little thing to them. Like one's a big guy whose head is his thumb, and who doesn't seem to have finger stubs. I don't know why. I don't really get it, but he's a circus freak, so I don't really know. But there's one whose hair she can use as extensions of herself, and one who has acid breath and acid spit. And I think as their names are Thumbskull, Frightwig, and Acid Breath. But they all kind of give a creepy air to them, and they all just seem to exude it. And I think what helps. And I think what also makes it, and again, I think it also works in terms of the atmosphere it sets up. The episode is constantly at night, which, while again, if it's supposed to be in the morning, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think it does help add to what makes the episode. Oh, sorry, Garbage Man again. I think, but I think it's what helps add to the strength of the episode, because it really does make you kind of feel. It does make you feel like it's a lone Halloween night, and it does kind of give you the chills, at least if you're a kid. And Zombozo himself really does exude, and again, I mentioned how he does this, but they actually do go further beyond just having Zombozo look and sound creepy. Because they actually show how he sucks the life out of people. Like when after Max crashes the RV, Ben wants to know what's wrong with him. Ben asks what happened, and it cuts to a flashback in the big top. You see all these people laughing at I don't even know what they were laughing at. There was nothing really there that was funny. But you just see, and their happiness is just sucked out of their body like spirits into this big machine, which Zombozo calls the Cyclown. And it's really disturbing because you see these spirits later in the episode in Zombozo's outfit, and you even see a flaming what's Gwen's spirit in his hat, and it is disturbing. They sound like wailing spirits. You see Gwen, and you see Gwen's her spirit's all withered too. It's in a flaming. She's just laughing. It looks like she's laughing at Ben, and it really and it adds to the creepy factor. And I think what also there's like and then there was the sequence where Ben actually did confront Zombozo in his hideout. When Ben goes in there, he goes through a hall of mirrors, which you know in these type of stories, a hall of mirrors is just a set piece for anything creepy. And while there, Zombozo starts doing mind tricks on Ben. He makes the mirrors come to life, and all these orange and black versions of himself just start reaching out, which I swear to God, that just this had to have taken place during Halloween. Those colors just scream Halloween. But he winds up making him go through trapeze. He has giant Jack in the Box heads. He's a spider. It all feels very Halloweeny, and even how Zombozo's defeated is a nice thing, which actually kind of helps add to another storyline that I mentioned. Like I mentioned that Ghost Freak was one of my favorite aliens, and that he's not really utilized a lot. Well, when he actually it is utilized in this series, beyond I think his first 2 appearances, they actually do show that there is something up with him. Like how Ben defeats Zombozo is that he sees Gwen, a withered husk. Ben gets mad and decides to just go hero, so he goes Ghost Freak, and he doesn't beat Zombozo to a pulp. I mean, okay, he beats him up like a punch, like he punches him, hits him with a board, but he never does anything as brutal as he did with other supervillains. He phases out of existence. He uses Ghost Freak's creepy voice. He actually gets Zombozo afraid of him. And what makes Zombozo terrified is that after Ben has got destroyed the Cyclown, Ben actually takes a bit Ghost Freak's skin and then opens it up, and there's just something underneath that's writhing in tentacles. It just terrifies Zombozo, and you don't know what it is, but it just freaked him out. And then after Zombozo is defeated, Ben even notes that was creepy. That was actually too creepy for even him. And it's very nice, and it does help add to the atmosphere of the episode. It still keeps up the creepy tone even when the bad guy is defeated. So I think that's really all I can say. I think what works. Because pretty much, while I feel that the moral of the episode is something that we have seen before in other episodes and just kind of the same in a similar manner, I do like the. I think what makes this episode work is the tone with the villains, the scenery, and even the climax. Because I like this. I like how the dark scenery actually adds to it. I like the villains. I like seeing how they're defeated, and and of course when there is action, it's still very good. And yeah, on the whole, I do still think this is a nice episode. I think, but I feel like if you want to fully enjoy the episode, you need to watch it around Halloween, because watching it now in September, I feel like it doesn't really it doesn't really hold up as strong. I mean, it's not bad by any means. I still think it's a good episode, but I feel like if your kids watch this episode around Halloween, it would actually hit them better, because all the colors, the scenery, what they do, just even the villains, it all should be enjoyed around how it all just kind of fits the tone of Halloween. So yeah, that's really all I can say. Good episode, best watch on Halloween, and I think that's all I can really say. So thank you all for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and tune in next week where we look at episode 10 of Ben 10. So again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.